2018 conference in Finland. And I'm Martina Emke, and I'm today's virtual buddy, and I'm joined with some really interesting guests. And I think I've got an echo here.
It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's okay, Martina.
Okay, good, because I can hear myself twice, and I was a bit confused here. Okay, I hope it'll be gone in a minute. Okay, hang on.
Don't hear an echo. Go ahead.
Okay, good, right. First of all, I would like to welcome the on-site guests. We've got the keynote speaker with us. Saku is sitting over there. I can see him. Then we've got Teresa. Teresa, can we see you?
I'm in the background here.
Okay, wonderful. And what about Parisa? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's wonderful. And last but not least, wasn't there supposed to be a fourth guest? Miriam? Miriam? Oh, wonderful, Miriam. Good to see you. That's good to see you. Okay, right. So if we come to the virtual guests now, Helen, could you start your introduction, and then we can basically take it from there, maybe? And I switch off my own computer, my own mic now.
Okay. I am hearing an echo as well from the. No, we should be okay. I'm Helen Ward. I am a Faculty of Education instructor here in Central Ontario in Canada.
Great.
Marco?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Marco Cappellini, and I'm in Aix-en-Provence, where I'm an assistant professor in didactic software languages. Hello.
And a very valuable computer-mediated communication SIG contributor too, I might add.
I'll go next. My name is AK, short for Apostolos Koutropoulos. I am at the University of Massachusetts, Boston in the Applied Linguistics Department. And while I was working on my master's capstone, I read a lot of Recall.
Yay, very cool.
Hello, my name is Katerina Zourou. I'm in Greece. I couldn't attend the conference this year, and it's a great pleasure that you organize this virtual event. Thank you very much.
Who else is there?
And Andrew is having some issues, and he texted in the chat window just a hello to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Let's start with the questions, maybe.
From Southampton.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that everybody on the virtual side, Helen?
Yes, I believe so. Martina, we're not getting any audio from you.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's just fire away. Let's
get
started.
Why don't I just jump in and invite you from the from the conference to give us a sense of the vibe of what's going on? We've been watching the Twitter stream from the keynote, so we'd love to hear your take on it.
Oh wow, where do we start? I think we should start with the president, the incoming president.
Yeah, I mean, we're very, very happy to have Saku, do I pronounce this correctly, with us, because we are looking this year in particular at the Eurocall conference of input from outside our field. We want to look beyond languages in terms of sustainability and innovation in computer-assisted language learning and teaching. Now you say what you've brought to us. Come on, please.
I mean, did they hear the speech or no? So should I give a summary?
Yeah, you can give a summary as well.
Okay, so extremely briefly, I've been working with innovation for all my life. I've been working with education with 5 years. And I think that there is a need for education system to change, and it's a global need. It's no matter to what continent you go, the differences, the challenges might be slightly different, but the need is existing in practically every country. And where does it come from? It comes from the fact that if you think that the purpose of education is to help every child flourish in life, no matter what happens, it means that the school should be giving skills that are useful in 2030, 2040, and so on. And as we all know, the world is changing extremely fast. And there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's quite obvious that no matter who leaves the school, they have to be learning new skills throughout their whole life. So I think that the key thing in here is that schools are changing in every country of the world, but the world is changing even faster outside of school. So we have to find a way to kind of like help school not to become irrelevant, help schools to be able to change without messing up the system. And I think that one of the main problems education is facing today is that it's not international. We are not excited about education innovations happening in other countries. And it's painful that many countries are struggling with X amount of problems, and another country have the solutions, but they don't know of each other's. So what we are trying to do at 100 is that we try to identify great education innovations, and we are putting a spotlight on them. We help them spread. And we are looking for innovations in unburdening teachers, in language skills, in mathematics, in fighting against bullying, in improving school food, and so on. And we are looking for innovations that have some kind of evidence so that they are working and have potential to work in every other countries as well. And I fully understand is that in education, not every innovation works in every country, but quite often you hear is that education is so different, is that innovations don't work in other countries. I think that that's absolutely untrue. That's a prejudice that we all have to fight, because there's so many examples of great innovations that are working in 10 plus, 50 plus, 100 plus countries. So our mission at 100, we are a non-profit organization, is to celebrate the great education innovations happening in every country of the world, and put a spotlight on them and help them travel. So that's a short version of a 60-minute speech.
Yes, and go to the website to 100.org. You find it all there. It's amazing, amazing material.
So how would you define
innovation?
I'm just going to say, how would you define innovation?
Innovation, it's a great question. And I think that the key thing in here is that you don't have to sort of like redefine innovation, because it has been defined again and again and again. So innovation is solving a real problem, it works, and it has potential to work in other countries as well. So it is a genuine that is tested and that has potential to spread. It doesn't have to be for profit, it doesn't have to be digital, but it has to be solving a problem, it has to be working, and it has to have a potential to work in other countries as well. And actually, the school is full of innovations already, because whiteboard is an innovation, curriculum is an innovation, classroom is an innovation, overhead projector was an innovation, and so on. But the problem is that since the world is changing, we need to have new kind of innovations.
We have time for one more question, because Saku has a train to catch at 4, and we have only 10 minutes to 4. So one more quick question, please.
Can I go for it?
Yes, go.
So you said that it's a matter of make innovations travel across borders. So I wonder, what are the I don't know, parameters or factors that you take into considerations to let those innovations go in other countries?
It was breaking down. I missed the first half of your question.
Oh, sorry. I was asking, what are the factors or the parameters that you take to for an innovation to be able to travel Do you take into considerations the organizational level, the micro level of the classroom, or in that sense?
It's a really complex and difficult question. If you're asking about what kind of innovations do we select, we have roughly about 100 people in our academy who are all education experts, and they are the ones who are making the final selections. And we are looking for innovations that have, they are bringing something valuable to the field of education. Secondly, they have some kind of evidence. And thirdly, scale. Not each and every innovation already have full potential to scale. And then we are saying that we love what you are doing, but we think that these are the things you need to change in order to accelerate the spreading. Having said that, I think that from the field of education, there's one thing lacking, which is some sort of agencies or middleman or experts. So for example, if someone would be saying that we want to be teaching empathy or robotics or coding or fight against bullying, there should be someone who is saying that that's a valid problem, we'll examine, and then we are saying that these are the examples that might work in your context, and then help them also on the implementation side. Because I think that one of the key problems we are having is not finding the innovations, it's the implementation side. And you need to have some kind of backing in that as well. So I think that it's a complicated area, but the good thing in here is that practically every other industry in life has been able to solve it. And education is the last one that kind of like has to do it.
Okay, we have to let Saku go now, but Parisa is still here and can take over, okay?
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. That's brilliant. Excellent. I'm going to
yes, thank you.
And you too. Recording next. All good. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, Miriam.
And Martina is still having issues with her mic. So what we'll do maybe
has a train to catch, so we may
yeah, and she has a train to catch as well. So maybe what we'll do is just try and focus some of the conversation from the people who are here virtually, and maybe you can just give us I know the conference is just getting started. Get a feel for the vibe that you're seeing in the conference venues. I know we're going to have a couple of more chances to talk before the end of the week. So yeah,
it's great to have that. And I must say, we have a new incoming president, so that, you know, things change, don't they? And Miriam is a force of nature. So things that we've talked about for years, I get the feeling now we're going to just do it and get on with it. So from a personal perspective, I'm really excited about that, because having been in technology enhanced language learning for over 30 years, you know, I get really frustrated when we actually end up just incrementally further on than where we were in the time of CD-ROMs and the development of technology like that. You know, actually we haven't come that far. And now we're saying, do you know what? We're a different field. We're not behaviorist anymore. We need to value the importance of interaction and personal communication. And it's so much easier now. The technology is ubiquitous. You know, just what we're doing now could hardly have been imagined. Even sort of 10 years ago, it was very problematic. So yeah, it's exciting.
It is.
Those are my thoughts. Parisa.
So hi everyone. Actually, I need to tell you something, because I couldn't attend Eurocall 2017 because my UK visa got rejected 3 times. So I'm so happy that now I'm here physically. And the vibe, I think Eurocall is kind of gender balance. So that's why to me it's really friendly. So I'm not the only woman, you know, in the room. So this is something that I really like about Eurocall. And then I attended Teresa's workshop on Wikipedia. It's a world. So please check it out. It's just amazing. A lot of features that I didn't know. And the talk, I really enjoyed the keynote speech, because that was really global, because a lot of speakers, they do use the word global as a buzzword, right? But the way that he emphasized like on all countries, I really liked it, and I found it inclusive.
We are determined at Eurocall to focus on inclusivity, access, opening doors, getting people together, getting good ideas, and getting people talking.
And actually, I'm a little bit curious because in the Twitter, I saw that there were sketching going on while the keynote speaker was talking.
That's right. We have a sketchnoter who is local, a Finnish sketchnoter who is doing that live as we go along, and she's brilliant. She's amazing.
And I'm planning to find her and ask the name of the software that she's using. I'll tweet if I figure it out.
Yeah, good.
I can't, so I'll leave that to those people that can.
And sketchnoting is one of the hidden languages that we forget about for our students, because we think visually and we speak orally and we write in text, but a lot of people forget about that visual piece when they start talking about students. So I put that as part of the course instruction that I do. So it's very interesting to see it happening more and more at conferences.
And Helen, I'm really interested in that you mentioned you teach critical digital literacies. Well, that's one of our main focuses as well. On Miriam and I are working intensively around critical digital literacies and how we make sure that we help young people develop those skills. And it's something actually that surfaced as well, quite well in the Wikipedia session we had today. You know, because actually if you get your students using Wikipedia, you are getting them to think about, you know, who is the authority on this? What does this mean? Is it fake news? How do we figure it out? So yeah, it was exciting. It was very exciting. It's good to get this underway. Marco had, I'm going to share this with you just because I'm so grateful. Marco in Southampton in 2017, when Parisa was going through all sorts of hassle, Marco very quietly suggested to me, why don't we have a CMC webinar in multiple languages? And because I'm chair of the CMC SIG, I said, yeah, we should do that. And privately went away thinking, oh my God, I hope we can do that. Marco made it happen. And we had a really successful, despite all sorts of technical hassle as we've had today and every day. When you use technology, that's just, you know, part of the game, isn't it? But we had presenters in French, Italian, and English, and we had a full day, and it was brilliant. So Marco, yay, innovation that works.
I just put into the idea. The rest was Teresa and Müge also. They organized it. I just spread the word, and then we were there for this session. It was really interesting to have multiple languages to talk about the same things more or less. And well, at least for me, it was interesting because I could understand all the languages. But the problem probably is to get a bunch of languages that are more or less transparent for the speakers, because I'm not sure that if we put together, I don't know, Korean, Italian, and Turkish, it will be as successful as it was last time.
Well, I was speaking to Dana Noci, who was one of the presenters, and she doesn't speak French, but she said how great it was to actually listen to French presentations, because Italian is obviously so close, and see what she could follow as well. So yeah, it was a great learning experience for all of us.
And to be fair, Virtually Connecting has done German Hangouts, and we did a Hangout from the Creative Commons Global Summit in Spanish. So we're looking forward to expanding that potential as well.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential there in Spanish because, well, I suppose there is in many of the sort of bigger world languages, because we can reach out across South America and we can reach other parts of Spanish-speaking world, and the same with French. But it's really nice. The thing that really sort of came across and really touched me, actually, in a way of doing that, was that people felt that they had more voice because they were choosing the language in which they presented, rather than being told, okay, you have to do this and the only language everybody can speak is English. They were saying, well, actually, I have my gift I would like to offer, but I'm more comfortable with offering it in my language. And that's brilliant.
Από εδώ και πέρα θα μιλάω μόνο ελληνικά.
Hola.
I'm pretty sure that was all great to you. Haha. There were actually two thoughts that actually came to mind. They're totally divergent and we can go either way. But one was the breaking down of silos. And a couple of weeks ago, it was at the Connected Learning Summit in Boston. And that brought a lot of different educators working on a lot of different vectors. So games in education, media in education, language in education. And one of the things that struck me as being important, even though we've been talking about it for a number of years, it hasn't really happened, is this breaking down of silos. So when you say I'm an applied linguist studying how people learn languages, you're here. When you say I'm a technologist and seeing how people use technology in the classroom, I'm here. When you say I'm the IT guy who's implementing the stuff that the technologist is using in the classroom, but there's really no connection between all those three silos, and they're all integral to one another to actually make it happen. That has been very minimal in my experience, but there's an increased call to actually break down those silos and collaborate, and that's where innovation would come from. The other completely, totally different strand is something that friends of mine and colleagues have been talking about over the years, is about the interest in publishing in our native or even our second language. So I'd love to be able to publish something in Greek or sort of work it out so that I can write what I write in English and French so that it becomes available to a different audience. But then the question of utility comes in and says, okay, if I'm going to spend all this time learning the lingo in Greek, because my academic lingo is mostly English, even though I'm a native speaker of Greek, who's going to read it? Is the payout bigger than just doing it in English to begin with? So that's what I'm thinking. And that's what I'm grappling with. So as I'm hearing about presentations being multilingual, I'm like, yes, I love this because I can listen to Italian and sort of pick up the lingo. I can practice my French. I can listen to my fellow Greeks. But at the end of the day, what's the overhead and what's the payout for doing academic publishing in another language? And I'd love it to be viable, but I'm sort of thinking about the practicalities.
Yeah, you can't spend the rest of your life translating all your life's work into 3 or 4 different languages. One of the things I would say that seems to be really useful, and I think Virtually Connecting contributes to this, is that actually, making short summaries or making short video clips that summarize something and putting them out there openly can be a great way of finding somebody who might want to collaborate with you and might say, do you know what, can I look in a bit more detail? I will do that for you and I'll progress it. And Virtually Connecting is so great because you can reach across those borders and, you can say, do you know what, I've put all of this stuff on this Padlet board or this website and, if you're interested, let's take it further. Let's take it beyond. It isn't impossible. There are places you can publish where you publish in more than one language, but I think you're absolutely right. You have to think about return on your time investment and still having a life, having some time when you're asleep, may I suggest.
Yeah.
That first point you made. Sorry, Helen.
Sorry, I was just going to say that really connected with what Saku was talking about in building that global, like these organizations, like the one he was talking about, 100, whatever. Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah, can we honestly say we know of other organizations that are like that have a global reach for languages, for education, for mathematics, for coding, what are they?
I think the part of the issue, and it relates to your first point, I think, is that once you get to a certain level of education, so, you know, the first part of my career was spent in secondary teaching. And if I wanted to do something with, you know, across faculty in different, so I just went to the staff room and spoke to the people who did that, and we agreed and we did it. It's so much harder in higher education, because the higher up you go, the more the compartmentalized everything has to be. And of course, you know, to an extent, it's important that you narrow down your field in order to identify it. But in that process of narrowing down, we build those silo walls, and then we forget to speak to each other. and it gets much harder to actually, you know, implement something that is interdisciplinary effectively without perhaps having a budget for interdisciplinarity. But somehow this sort of virtually connecting setup and these sort of conversations mean that we forget about those institutional walls and we just make the connections anyway, and things can happen. So, you know, maybe it's just that freshness that enables us to, you know, forget all of that.
So do you see that happening with Eurocall, with the organization itself, or is it just the individual people? Is it the organization that is pushing that, or is it just the individual, like you say, the people in the room?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it does come down very much to the people, to the individuals who want to get involved, doesn't it? You know, if you think it's too much work, then you know, then it never happens. But as an organisation, it might be able to sort of support or promote these sorts of activities, but at the end of the day, Eurocall is focused on language learning. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Eurocall needs to, as Miriam was saying earlier, make those strategic partnerships, do things that actually reach beyond language learning, call people in from outside, make those interdisciplinary connections, so that people are almost given permission, if you like, to go out there and do it, because we don't just do it if we're worried about, you know, whether it will impact. Yeah, I think it's complex.
And ultimately being given academic credibility, credentialing for the work you do within that opening agenda. I think, AK, you can speak to that, I think, because that's something that you've been immersed in.
One of the things that came to mind, and I read this somewhere, so it's not my thought. It was either a blog or a news site, but when we have those silos that are very specific, when we work in this interdisciplinarily, sometimes it's hard for people in our silo to acknowledge the newness, the innovation, or even understand it, whereas other people in other silos will understand it, but they're not in your silo, so you can't really get credit for it, or as much credit as you would have gotten if it were just in your silo. So an example might be computational linguistics. You know, if you're doing something that's more on the computational side, but it's informed by linguistics, the computer scientist might be able to understand the innovation of your new algorithm much more than the, let's say, linguists in your department who might be focusing on other aspects of linguistics. Same is true for people who are in the computer sciences, let's say, working on something that's a little more linguistics. The linguistics folks would be able to better understand that than your CS colleagues. So this kind of makes it a little perilous academically if you want to keep your job, because the people who are responsible for giving you tenure and promotion need to be able to understand what you do. So sometimes you play it safe and you don't necessarily collaborate as much because you need to keep your job. Once you get your job, then you can be a little more flexible and, you know, quote, risk taker and do all these interdisciplinary things. But getting to that job security is very steep. So you're, in my opinion, however flawed it might be, you might be wasting years of research doing stuff that's safe just to keep your job.
I think you absolutely put your finger on it, and it's that C word, isn't it? You need to have recognition for collaboration, and you need recognition that actually acknowledges that collaborating makes things harder to an extent, because that's the nature of collaboration. So it's it's much easier to go quickly if you go alone, isn't it? If
you really feel passionate about it, I don't think that's the waste of time. It's not.
No, it's certainly not a waste of time, but you might not get paid for it, and that's the risk.
That's true.
You still have the family to feed after all.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, I'm just going to jump in, Teresa. Martina is not able to get back into the Hangout. I'm just checking to see if you have access to the stop recording button.
Oh, okay. Now that's an interesting one. I don't think I.
Okay.
I don't think I do.
Okay, then I'll try and go in and make sure that when we are ready to stop recording, then we'll be able to stop the recording. I'll double check that at the end. Just a technical issue.
These things happen. Marco and I know it well.
If I can add on these thoughts about the interdisciplinarity, for talk about the what happens in France is that usually you have a disciplinary field, and then you can try to move across disciplinarity, but you are not especially recognized. But things slowly changed, and even if we had calls for interdisciplinary research for the past, I don't know, 20 years maybe or so, we are starting to get also some possibilities at an institutional level to be recognized as interdisciplinary research. So for instance, in my university, there are some calls for interdisciplinary projects, and it's awesome. It's sure it's not useful for your career, but it's really interesting to sit around a table with someone from sociology of organization, someone from cognitive psychology, and try to make sense out of a complex situation, which is the classroom, or which is something else, and try to bring your own perspective on the phenomenon that it's studied. But I completely agree. I agree. It's very difficult to be recognized as innovative if people you're talking with just don't understand what you're talking about. And I think there's something like that for core research or core practitioners, it's linked to interculturality. And sometimes you are almost talking a foreign language, and it's a matter of identity. You are negotiating identities with the people you are talking with. So it's the same as you told, as you said. I'm a didactician here in my lab, which is a lab in linguistics. But when I talk to people in a civilization, I'm a linguist. So it's a negotiation with the interlocutor.
Put another hat on. Yeah. And I think linguists are very good at this. I think linguists are genuinely very well disposed to these sort of intercultural encounters, because that's part of our discipline. That's the nature of what we do. We're used to mediating between cultures. So I think we are very good at it. And of course, we see a lot of linguists who migrate into different disciplines because of the sort of poor progression that often happens within our own discipline. So yeah, linguists are very flexible, and they're good mediators. So everybody out there needs a linguist.
So on that note, maybe we could do a wrap up, since we're heading into your time at the conference. If you'd like to head off, and then I'll do the back check at the end, not to bring an end to the conversation, but I know we've got a couple more sessions coming up with at Eurocall, so we'll have more chances to have some other conversations.
I want to do a quick wave to Marian Sadhu, who was going to join us but didn't get the link and is watching us on YouTube. So hi, Marian, and hi, anyone else who's watching us on YouTube. And thank you so much, Helen, for being that vital backstop and sorting out the technical.
Awesome. Well, I good luck tomorrow, and I'll see you on Friday, the Friday session. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Marco.